It was an hour later than he said he was going to, but around 1:30 the president took to the microphone to talk about a way forward in Iraq. And that way forward is going to be halfway, or maybe an eighth of the way. At least he's addressing it. 300 advisors will be dispatched to Iraq, to Baghdad, to take a look at aiding those who are trying to repel that despicable Sunni extremist group, the terrorist extremist group, this ISIS. So he's going to go out there and evaluate the situation. I understand drones are flying constantly, and we have other aircraft in the area trying to assess the battlefield in about 7 cities that have fallen into enemy hands. So are the 300 advisors going to get their hands dirty? Are they going to be shooting people, blowing people up, fighting back? The answer is no. Well, advising al-Maliki so far.
Well, we don't know exactly what they're going to do. I mean, the president made it very clear there will be no combat troops, so it doesn't sound like these advisors are going to be shooting anybody.
With their green berets.
I know, exactly. And so the suggestion was, well, maybe they're sending in the advisors to call in the airstrikes, but the president said yesterday there are no imminent airstrikes. The problem right now is that, and Charles Krauthammer talks a little bit about this, the president is telling the enemy a lot about what we're doing and what we're not doing. Here's the doctor.
It is always a mistake to say X is off the table. You can believe it, you can stick to it, you can tell people in private, but you don't announce it. I can assure you that if there is a Tet offensive-like assault on the embassy in the Green Zone, there will be combat troops on the ground. Otherwise, we're going to have a Benghazi squared.
Well, that was Charles's explanation and sort of really indictment of what could come looking back in history at Benghazi and the exposed Americans that were there. You know, President Obama also yesterday blamed Maliki on why this is happening. He said this.
Well, keep in mind, that wasn't a decision made by me. That was a decision made by the Iraqi government. We offered a modest residual force to help continue to train and advise Iraqi security forces.
So what he said, yeah, yesterday he said,
what?
Yeah, Maliki, he claims, yesterday, he was the one who decided that we shouldn't have a residual force there because he didn't want to indemnify our troops because we did something against the law. Status of forces troop, but if one of our guys or women did something wrong, we don't want to be subject to Iraqi laws. But the president really never engaged in any type of long-form negotiation about a residual force left behind. In fact, the president said the most he would leave behind in the best scenario is about 3,000 troops. So al-Maliki said, well, for that, we don't even want it. So the president doesn't put any troops in there. He said al-Maliki made that decision. Well, that really stunned a lot of people who have been tracking this whole Iraq war, because we remember the 2011 debate with President Obama and Mitt Romney, at which time at Lind University, he was asked about this and about the pullout. Mitt Romney couldn't believe he was pulling out all the troops and thought it was a mistake to do so. Listen to what he said.
With regards to Iraq, you and I agreed, I believe, that there should have been a status of forces agreement. Did you? True. Oh, you didn't? You didn't want a status of forces agreement?
No, what I would not have done is left 10,000 troops in Iraq that would tie us down. That certainly would not help us in the Middle East.
Wow. So he was going to refuse the threshold that most military experts said was necessary to have any type of leverage in that country after the surge and after he termed it a peaceful Iraq.
It does appear that he's changed his story, and luckily our hard drive didn't crash and we were able to present to you folks this morning the evidence. Exhibit A. Looks like, you know, because things aren't going well now, and they probably should have done something back then, now they're trying to rewrite a little bit of history.
We would have been able to see what was going on in the Sunni area, and Iran wouldn't have had a force. They wouldn't have been flying over Iraq into Syria to help those rebels, because they wouldn't have thought they could do that with us there.
Right.
But now they have free. That's their big playground now.
Many saying that status of forces agreement could have been a huge difference maker, and the negotiations should have been ramped up. Coming up.